You're watching Pyro Media Network.
I could be running or I'm chasing you, but I won't. Cause I got better things to do. Rather spend my precious time chasing somebody who loves me too. If I got $1 for every time you slam the door, I would be the richest girl alive. If you hadn't run away every time I asked you stay, you would sleep right next to me tonight. But you didn't know me, all you wanted was a game to play, and you couldn't handle that I had my ways. I found your magic and your side chicks, I'm a winner, babe. But you didn't win this, it's a part
Thank you for
of the
tuning in.
game.
If this is your first time joining us, welcome. We hope your experience is fruitful. Please feel free to visit our website to find out how you can join our growing family. While we are loading your experience, please do us a quick favor and hit that like button from whichever platform you're watching or listening on. Also, share so others may enjoy as well. And we hope you would consider hitting that subscribe or follow button so you can check out more of our amazing content. All right, let's start the show.
Vick, Victorious! Vick, Victorious!
Hey. Happy Friday, Junior. And it is a special Friday, Junior, because tomorrow is Juneteenth. Hey, everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of Dr. Victorious, where we explore the intersections of social justice, wellness, and what it means to show up fully human from a Black perspective, because I'm Black. Hey, I am Dr. Vick, aka Dr. Victorious. Now, Juneteenth is tomorrow, and if all y'all know, some people still don't know what Juneteenth is, and I'm like, what is going on? I don't understand why they don't know this. 1865, the last enslaved people in Texas were informed, hey, slavery is over. You are free. And because it sort of happened in Texas, well, not because it did happen in Texas. I think Texas has been like sort of the epicenter of Juneteenth celebrations. And that's not to say that other places did not celebrate Juneteenth, but it really kind of started there. And there was a lot of effort and work to be had to make it a now federal holiday. I still see things on social media where people act funny style about what Juneteenth is. Oh, it's made up. Why are we celebrating this? And it's like, very interesting. So sometimes you learn a lot from people when you allow them to speak and just let them talk, just say what they need to say, and you learn a lot. So tomorrow is Juneteenth. And we need to take that time to celebrate and honor our enslaved ancestors. And again, this is very specific to those in Texas who didn't find out until sometime later that emancipation was here and that they were indeed free. Also, this is still Pride Month. Yay. And I also wanted to focus this week on Father's Day. I was like, I don't think I've ever done a Father's Day episode. I think I've wanted to and never really have gotten around to it. And so, a lot about what we hear or know about Black fatherhood is based in stereotype, misconception. I mean, there's some truth, there is some truth to some stuff, right? In some instances, in some situations and circumstances, but I feel like this is not the day for that. I want to really talk about our fathers, our grandfathers, our stepfathers, our uncles, our mentors, our coaches, father figures who have nurtured, protected, and taught us and inspired us. There are many of them, and there's many that I can name even in my own life. So I want to focus on that this week, and that's what we're going to do. But before we do that, we have to do our exciting, fabulous, fun scroll stroll. So let's head into that segment, and then we'll go into our topic for the week. Scroll stroll. Telling you, we need a song. Don't have me go up in here and be like, scroll stroll. Watch, don't say nothing if it's on here like in about a month. A little song, an entry song. Oh my goodness. So the first one is say what? So listen. What's the guy name? David. I'm gonna say it wrong. I know I am. Oyelowo. I believe that is his correct name. He is an actor who has portrayed Black American characters, including Martin Luther King Jr. in the movie Selma, Bass Reeves in the movie Lawman, Louis Gaines in the movie The Butler, Preacher Green in The Help, and Joe Lightning Little in Red Tails. He was asked about, his ability to, do these accents. And so what he said was, what the problem was, he's on this podcast. It's called 154. I forgot, with Godfrey, and I forgot the other guy's name, but he's explaining where he gets this accent from. And he said, well, if you slow down a Nigerian accent and add a bit of subservience to it, then you get the Southern accent. And he starts to speak in this Southern accent. And so, baby, uproar. Folks was like, excuse me, subservience? What are you talking about? And they came on him hard. When son Michaud has to come down on you, and he's a linguistics expert, and make a video and come down on you and clown you, you have messed up real bad, real bad. And so everybody was on him. And so he had to issue an apology, and as he should have. I feel like when you think about, and I think this fits nicely with Juneteenth, right? This whole idea of a conversation around enslaved people. The things that we had to figure out and learn, right? Our ancestors did when they first came to this country as unpaid work, unpaid labor workforce, and all the other people that were here that were speaking their own accented English, and we had to try to make sense of it, like the way that Black people spoke at that time, and some of us still speak that way in certain parts of the country. Like, what you mean subservience? That was survival. That was innovation. That was ingenuity. We had to make it work, right? Like, what are you saying? So, and I think it also speaks to, there was a skit that Drewski did around non-Black American actors, specifically ones overseas in the UK, doing roles that portray historical Black characters. And he made that satire. And I think David had something to say about that too. But it's like, is there some truth to it? Because y'all seem to not understand. Y'all don't get it. And I don't understand why y'all don't get it. Like, y'all don't take the extra step to try to understand. So that was interesting to catch up on Threads and Instagram and all the other places I get my social media. Hey, Cyrus, woo woo. But he had to apologize, and he did. So yes. The next scroll stroll is less of a scroll, but actually something I experienced last weekend, and I want to share. The past is present, and I think it also is very timely. So there is I think it ended on Sunday. That's the day we went to the Getty Museum with a friend of mine, and they had a exhibit around Black photography during like the 50s, 60s and whatnot, various photographers and all this beautiful photography from throughout the years. And it was so crazy to see stuff like a photograph of a storefront and they say buy Black. And I'm like, we're literally going through that right now, where we're saying we need to buy Black. We need to stop shopping where our dollars are not being respected, where we're not being respected. And we need to focus our efforts on supporting our Black business owners. So it's crazy to know that's happening today, and then go into this exhibit and see a photo from like 1960 something, and it says buy Black. To see the Black Power movement, to see Malcolm X, on film, or MLK. And were so many beautiful photographs. They had also album covers and music where you can listen to sort of the protest and the different ways that we sort of shared our protest or performed protest in real time and how it was captured. Beautiful. But it was also a situation where I said, dang, we are literally going through this today. What we did then is happening now. And I remember talking to my friend. I said, we need to be talking to our elders and the people that lived through the civil rights movement. They have the playbook. They have the gems to drop on us, but we have to be willing to do the work. And I think one of the other things that I said that I don't know if y'all agree or not, I'm just going to say it. There was one photo in particular. It was MLK and Mrs. King at a protest in Tennessee. And I think it was right before he was killed. It was raining, umbrella, and they were out there. And it wasn't just them. It was a whole group of folks in the rain, literally protesting, marching, right, for justice. And I was like, I think one of our problems, and I don't know if it's just us as a people, I'm not going to put that just on us, but the idea of being uncomfortable, I think, unsettles a lot of people, right? Because there has to be some level of discomfort to be able to put yourself out there to try to fight for collective good, for collective justice, right? So if you are inconvenienced in any way, and I think we've gotten to a space where we have so many things at our fingertips. We have social media, we have these smartphones. I don't know if we have become uncomfortable with being uncomfortable. We don't want to be inconvenienced. And I said, I think that's what's missing. None of us have had to go through any of what we have seen in the past. And so I think it feels foreign, and it's like, no. And I think that's what's missing. I don't know. I could be wrong, and I'm open to being wrong. That's fine. But I just think that that's one of the things missing. So it was a beautiful exhibit. If you missed it, I don't know if it's traveling to other cities, but it was an amazing thing. You may be able to see some photos that were in the exhibit online, but it was amazing to see the art and the interpretation of that art across, we saw Ebony magazines and Jet magazines. I lived in those old Ebony and Jet magazines as a child. That was literally my whole life. So it was cool to see that as well on display. So just wanted to share that as one of my scroll strolls. It's not technically a scroll, but I did find it by scrolling because I was scrolling on Facebook and I seen the ad. So we gonna count it as a scroll stroll. And then the last one, my daughter messaged me on Messenger, was like, Eve has a tiny desk. And I was like, oh. And she said, Mama, when I heard it, I said, the first person I thought about was you. I love Eve. And I'm sorry, y'all. If you watched it, I kind of watched a snippet of it. I'm looking at this woman and I'm like, Eve, how you look the same? Or actually, to me, you actually look younger than you did when you first came out. And so I saw a little snippet, and it was a snippet of my favorite Eve song, which is Satisfaction. I was over the moon. I was like, yes, anything I want. Fabulous. And she was just on point. You could understand everything she was saying, and her presence was fire. I'm like, babes, you might have to come on out with another album or something, because you still got the vibe. Like, you still there. Like, come back, Eve. But I was so happy, and I have to watch the whole thing. So I just want to throw that in there. If you haven't seen it, you gotta go see it, because she that little snippet, I said, oh wow, okay. If this is the level that we at, the rest of it's gonna be amazing. So that made my little Gen X day. And I was really, really, really happy. Gen X / Millennial Day. So yeah. All right, y'all, we're going to go to commercial break, and we're going to come back and talk about Father's Day and fathers and legacy and building. It's going to be a great episode. All right, see you in a bit.
Hey, it's Pastor Kim from It's Just Kim Live Show, and you're watching Pyro Media Network.
The news is divided. Ground News puts it back together, with coverage from thousands of outlets around the world in one place. So you can spot sensational reporting, no matter what side of the political spectrum you're on. Beside every headline, you'll see who owns the source, how reliable it is, and if they have a political bias. Multiple perspectives side by side, giving you a well-rounded view of today's biggest stories. Visit ground.news to learn more.
This is Tammy from Tammy's Take, and you're watching Pyro Media Network.
As I said earlier, Father's Day is this Sunday. So if you haven't gotten your dad his gift, you need to go get the gift. And I'm even thinking to myself, oh my goodness, I done sat here and waited to the last minute. My dad is in Phoenix, well, near Phoenix with my mom. So it's my daughter's there and my parents are in Phoenix. And yeah, I don't know what to get him. Actually, I have an idea. We'll see. So real quick, I'll just share this and then I'm going to go into the segment. So my dad loves beef jerky. When I was little, I remember him having a dehydrator thing, and he was really big on recipes and stuff and dehydrating this meat and making beef jerky. And so I usually just buy him beef jerky. But I do realize, blood pressure and stuff like that. I'm like, I probably should be a little bit more mindful of the things that I buy him. So then one year I bought him vegan beef jerky. I don't know if he ate it. I have no idea, but I had it shipped to the house. But what I'm thinking I'm going to do, he's not going to watch this, so it's fine. What I'm thinking I'm going to do, I remember when I was little, he also had a telescope. And he would look at the stars and stuff at night and the constellations and all those kinds of things. And he had a book called Atlas of the Night Sky. So I'm actually going to try to see if I can find a copy, because I'm sure he doesn't have the one he had. It's all tattered anyway. Maybe I'll buy him a new one of those. That might be the idea. I'm not sure, because he doesn't wear like cologne. He just doesn't. And for years it was black t-shirts and jeans. I'm like, how many black t-shirts can I do? I mean, what hello? So I don't know. I think I'm gonna either try for this one, maybe find a new type of beef jerky, or see if I can get this book and get it sent to him for Father's Day. So that's my thought. We used to go bike riding, but I don't think he does that anymore. It's kind of hot in Phoenix to be on a bicycle, so I'm not gonna do that. Yeah, I think I'm gonna try either a new kind of jerky. Maybe I can find something, or I'm gonna see if I can get that book to him. But yeah, I wanted to take a moment to celebrate Black fathers specifically, not through the stereotypes, not, we want to talk about legacy. That's what I wanted to talk about. They teach us a lot of things. We learn a lot of lessons from our fathers. They pass on their values to us. And if done right, they build foundations for families and communities. And so it's a love letter to Black fathers today. That's the plan and the intention. And so to me, legacy is not just about money or inheritance or, oh, I left you this property. I mean, because to be real, a lot of us don't have access to those things anyway, right? We working class family. We ain't got nothing to leave you, but some lessons learned in life. That's it. So to me, legacy can be things like values. It can be character, traditions, faith, service, education, community involvement. So I'll share a story about my great-grandfather. He was someone that taught me about money. He was the first one to show me how to write a check. I remember driving around with him. He had all these plaques in his home. He had a Shell gas station many, many years ago. So I very much saw him as like this retired businessman. And I really looked up to him. He had this big giant desk at his house. I guess he took it from when he retired from his business and he brought it home, and his giant desk with these giant checks. You remember checks? Now people don't write checks no more anyway. But even today, checks are like kind of smaller. But back then, there's like these business checks were like in these big books, and then you got your actual check, and then there's like this kind of receipt thing where you can kind of keep track of stuff. I remember there was a machine he had where you could imprint like money orders. I don't know what you would call that, but you would push the little dials and then set it however you want, and you put the paper in there and push it down, and it would actually like print. It would be with an old school printer, in a sense, a manual printer for like money orders and stuff. He had all this stuff, and so I was just like, what is all of this stuff? And of course, as I got older, I recognized that he was a businessman. He was a realtor. He had a business. He had a Shell gas station with his business partner. He built property. The buildings that apartment building I grew up in, they built. So it was like, oh, but I didn't know all that as a kid. I just seen the big checkbook and I'm like, ooh, this is fun. He had a big old Cadillac. But I learned that like that business minded asset or frame of mind came from my great grandfather. And then even like my grandfather as well, my mother's dad really taught me about service in some way. He was a firefighter, a servant, what would you, I guess, call us a public servant or a servant leader, and really gave himself to his job. He worked his full 40 years or 30 years and then retired right before I was born. So I never saw him as a firefighter. But there was a lot of evidence in the home, the firefighter hat, photos and all sorts of things. And I think sort of that idea of being a public servant started with him, and then my aunt, and then sort of moved forward with me. And so to me, legacy in my case, it was about like, who were these men, what they taught me about life, about Blackness, about business acumen in some respects. People, have this thing about women. Well, if you're a Black woman, you buy a house before you're married, like you have no value. And I said, well, who you think taught me how to buy a house? My great grandfather, a man. He taught me those things. So, okay, but he the one that said to do it. So I don't know what to tell you. And he was the one that made it possible so that when he was gone, there was something to leave behind. Those properties, those apartment buildings were left behind. He actually put my name, my brother's name, my mom's name on the deed. So when they got sold, for whatever reason, we won't go into that. Some of that came to me and I was able to flip that, right? Took that bag and flipped it. And was able to take care of my own family with that. So that actually was a tangible legacy, but there was a lot of other lessons that, I don't think they were specific lessons, but they were things that I absorbed over the years. Loads of Ebony and Jet magazines, loads of evidence of Blackness and what it meant to be a Black person in this world that I was exposed to at a very, very young age. And I think those types of things are very important. And a lot of Black fathers have that ability to impart those values and those characters and traditions on our lives. And we're better for it in many, many ways. And so, I think about them as being builders, right? How they create and help to set foundation and tone for families, and oftentimes for generations to come. Because think about it, what my great grandfather set in stone for me, what he built way back to make sure I was good, will help me make sure that Andrea is good when I'm gone. So, and hopefully I can share what I learned from him so that when she's gone, her kids will be fine. And so I think when we think about what Black fathers can provide, that type of legacy and character building and foundation is so important. And I want to also share this little bit of information with you. My great grandfather is not my biological great grandfather. My great grandfather married my great grandmother when they first came to Los Angeles. He doesn't have any children technically. But he's the only person I knew, so I didn't know that any different. That was my great grandfather, and loved him just the same. And I'm sure it was the same, likewise on his side as well. He also, let me tell you this, he also imparted the love of food. The child, he would feed me. You want some ice cream? And I'm like, see, you done set me up now, because now you know, me and my sweet tooth and love of food. I'm like, man, but he also cooked. I know there's this weird thing where sometimes you see family, oh, we don't want the young boy to learn how to cook in the house. I actually grew up in a family where my great grandfather cooked. I never saw my great grandmother cook. Same thing with my mom's mom and dad. My grandfather cooked. I never saw my grandmother cook anything. So I grew up in a family where the men cooked and they cooked all the time. And then, so that was also interesting as well. So I already had exposure to what many would consider non-traditional, but like for me, I'm like, yeah, my grandfather cooked everything. Like when I would come over to visit, my grandma wasn't cooking no food. I wonder, did she cook for my mama? I'm gonna have to ask my mom, did your mama cook for you? Because whenever I came over there, grandpa was cooking. So I don't know, but I had that exposure as well. Different types of lifestyles, how people do things differently. So it was really cool. Oh, okay, cool, Cyrus. The men cook in my family. Yeah. But my aunts can cook, but we have a lot of boys. Yeah. So like I want to guess that my grandfather specifically probably cooked. Again, he was in the military. He went to World War II. Maybe he was cooking there. Maybe he was cooking before there because he was born in New Mexico, Columbus, New Mexico. And then somehow I've been trying to look all through Ancestry and figure it out. So he was in New Mexico and then he ended up in Los Angeles without his mom. I don't know. Did he leave, run away? I don't know. And then there was a woman that took him in. Her name is Jessie Neal. My grandfather's name is Nathan Neal, but actually his last name is not Neal. It was Hatton. So this woman made such an impression on him. He legally changed his name to hers. And that became his mom. So did she teach him how to cook? I don't know, but he was the one that was cooking. And then my grandma didn't cook nothing. That's as far as I know now. When my mama was little, maybe, but by the time I came around, grandpa was cooking. So those were the things that I saw. So, you know, even now I'm like, if I do get a husband, I would like for him to be the cook of the house. I don't want to cook no more. I'm tired. So even for me, I'm like, but that's not abnormal to me because that's what I saw growing up. Yeah. So anyway, Black fathers also build character, like integrity, responsibility, discipline, perseverance. You know, my dad very much like, all right, responsibility. Like, no, this is your responsibility to take care of. This is your thing that you need to do and manage. And I can remember those lessons from him. I remember this idea of encouragement, building confidence, helping us to feel seen. And again, you know, all of our fathers are different. You know, some of them could be a little more standoffish, maybe laid back or in the background. Some fathers are very much, you know, involved and engaged. And I think that you can benefit from any of those types of fathers because they all have a specific gift or talent or presence that they can afford and offer to you. I also have had the benefit of being exposed to fathers outside of my immediate family. One in particular I think of is my former pastor, Pastor Albert Starr, father of 2 children and a husband, right? Of course, the pastor of the church. He was also like the head of the school. And so, you know, we saw him move throughout all the time. We saw him all the time. And he was very much a father figure to all of us, even as young students. And we saw him, how he related to his wife, because she was there. She was the principal and he sort of was the, you know, over the church side. We saw him relate to his children. We saw how he related to us and how he talked to us. And the funny thing is, even now, I don't go to church anymore. Y'all know this. I don't at all. We are still Facebook friends on me and Pastor Starr and his wife. Sometimes he'll reach out, hey, how you doing? Or if I post something, he'll comment. Like I saw Mrs. Starr at the post office maybe 6 months or so ago. And, oh, hey. So it's like those types of relationships you know, transcend, you know, whether someone still attends a church home or not. Like you see these people and they still have a presence in your life. I bought his book. And so there was a lot that I think I learned from him as well. And then there was someone else at my former church. There was our musician. His name was Mark Coates. He was my first example of a single father. because he had been married, and then I think they divorced. I don't remember exactly what happened, but he was raising his son alone. And again, I saw how he moved and how he operated, how he mentored all of us, how he supported. I remember getting picked up and going to choir rehearsal. They would make sure I got there and back. When I was pregnant with Andrea, me, my little teen mom self, where in some instances I've seen it on Facebook and other social media where teen moms are actually chastised in front of their church home. I was not, right? I was supported. And, the pastor's wife was like, look, you ain't the first and you ain't going to be the last. I mean, it's going to be all right. And we going to work through it. My pastor prayed for Andrea because she was in the hospital. My choir director, musician friend, Mark, baby shower, like, we're going to make sure we support you. And so I think about those things a lot, and how the men in my life showed up for me throughout my life, and really showed me how important and significant it is for that presence. And sometimes, again, those lessons aren't obvious, like I'm teaching you a lesson right now, right? It's not that obvious, but then later on in life, it's like, you know what, that time when this happened, now I understand why that happened that way, or why this moment was important. And let's go back one more time to my teen pregnancy life. My mom called Pastor Star. Pastor Star came to the house and was like, okay, let's have a talk about what's going on and how we can support. And I remember that too, and thinking how that was a big deal. And yes, was that his job or his role as pastor? Yes. But at the same time, I'm thinking of him as a Black man and a Black father, and how he really kind of stepped up and really tried to support during that time. Highly respect to this day. If I saw him, I'm like, immediate respect. Hello, how are you? What can I do for you? And it's an amazing thing to have that presence in your life. And so, again, there's all different types of fathers. Stepfathers, uncles, older cousins, the neighbor. Sometimes it can step in and do things that help to build community. Things like coaching, right? Mentoring, church leadership. I just gave you 2 examples of that, how beautiful that was and how impactful that was in my growth and development as a Black woman. Civic engagement. I see a lot of our Black fathers doing that work. Neighborhood involvement. When I broke my ankle, the family next door, I know it was led by my neighbor. Her name is Crystal, but she had 2 sons and a husband, and they also helped, right? So thinking about the impact that has on building community and keeping us connected. Healthy communities aren't built by organizations or programming. They're built by people that invest in others. And so I think that fathers play a very significant role in that. And so, some of us, unfortunately, were not raised by our biological fathers, but there were men that shaped us and stepped into that role. And I think their influence matters just as much as anyone else's. And so, we have to acknowledge the village. And I kind of alluded to it just a second ago, our grandfathers. And in my case, I was blessed. I had great-grandfather around for a long time. I don't remember exactly when my great-grandfather passed. My great-grandmother lived until I was about 20. And I think my great-grandfather passed well before that. But again, I remember being in his presence with those checkbooks and teaching me how to be the businesswoman that I am. I don't know if I'm doing as good of a job as he did, but definitely those lessons were imparted on me. Do I have uncles? I do. My dad has brothers. Those uncles, I don't see them as often, but always a good opportunity to connect with his brothers. His oldest brother, I think I saw a lot more than some of his other brothers. Teachers. Oh, we haven't even touched on teachers. So one of my teachers, Mr. Williams, I don't even think he had children. I don't think he was a father in that sense, but very much played that role for us at the elementary school I went to. And again, shout out to Ascension Lutheran School. It doesn't exist anymore. Pastor Starr, Mrs. Starr. Mr. Williams was our 5th and 6th grade teacher, Jamaican man. And he was always on us, but I think he was on us so hard because he loved us and he really wanted us to do well. And so again, another example of that male figure that had such a positive impact. He has since passed away, but I remember he left Ascension and he went to teach at the local middle school that I actually went to, but of course I wasn't there when he was teaching, but I saw him because I would go up there sometimes to mentor and talk to the students, and I would see him from time to time. And he was teaching still, you know, up until I think the time that he was retiring. So, you know, those teachers also played a huge role in my life as well. So it's an amazing thing. I'm grateful that we have fathers in our lives. I what came to mind just now was the guy I featured on the Scroll Stroll a couple of weeks ago, I think, or maybe a month or so ago. Young Black man said, I want to be a father, but I'm not going to wait, you know, to find my, you know, partner. I'm going to adopt. And he's raising this beautiful young boy, and he's being very helping him to become very self-aware. I watched the video of their interactions where he was paying very close attention to his son's attitude and mood and was like, wait, what's going on? And he stopped, like they were filming something, and he was like, wait, whoa, what, are you okay? And his son said, I forgot what he said, but he stopped and he said, no, it's okay. If you don't want to continue, we can stop. And I think it's such a great thing to see a self-aware, self-actualized father put, you know, imbue that into his child in that way. Like, no, it's like, hey, you don't have to do this thing if you don't want to. Let's figure out what's happening with you. Are you okay? What do you need? And he was talking into him, speaking life into him. And I felt like, and people were commenting like, oh, I needed to hear that myself. Like, I know you're talking to him, but like, I think that was for me. And I felt the same way too. I was like, I needed that message. And so sometimes those wonderful examples really help us heal, right? Like, what? So I want to, you know, ask you all, what did your father teach you? And maybe it's not your father, maybe it's your uncle or your grandfather. And what do you appreciate more now than you did as a child? I think one of the things I would say to answer that question is, I think in my adult mind, I now understand the telescope and the beef jerky dehydrator and all those sort of things that my dad had. I now am just now seeing that as, oh, that might be where I get my love for hobbies. Like, you know, I have all my nail stuff. I'm looking right now at my nail equipment. I'm like, I wonder if that's where some of that desire or love of having a hobby comes from, because that's my hobby. Like, I got all the stuff and all the equipment. He was the same way, all the equipment and the things. I wonder if that's where that came from. So I would say I didn't necessarily understand and appreciate that then. I just thought, well, why he got this telescope? What is he doing? But now I'm thinking, oh, that's a hobby. And so now I have hobbies. Is that where I get that from? Right? This thing of time spent learning and doing things. And I think he did help me become curious. I think I got that from him as well. And the last question I want to ask you all, what part of his legacy lives in you today? And I think that is it, right? The desire to be curious, to ask questions, to go down rabbit holes. I will see a video of a train. I think I told y'all this. I will go down a rabbit hole. And I think that curiosity comes from him. He was, in our family, from what I know, we were the first ones or close to the first ones to have a home computer. He had gone to like ITT Tech or DeVry or something like that to learn how to work on computers way back in the day. And so he built us a computer. And I remember we had one. I was in elementary school when we had a computer. I don't recall anybody else having one. And so that early entry into technology comes from my dad, you know, and music. The love of music comes from him as well, because as in school, he had one of those big stereo systems with the glass door. Y'all know what I'm talking about. And all these CDs and old school, you know, music. And I would just play it. And I'm sure he was tired, like, girl, if you don't turn this off, but he never stopped me. And so All of those things I think are really things that he left for me. He's still here, so I don't want to make it sound like he's gone. He's still here, but I think those are the things he gave me. All right, let's go to a commercial break, and then we'll quickly close with a doctor's note, and we'll be done. Oh, Father's Day! I'm so excited. All right, see you in a bit.
Hey, how y'all doing? Real quick, this is Daryl Walter, host of the Daryl Walter Show. I know. And you are watching Pyro Media Network.
All right. We are at the doctor's note. I just, want to close with a love letter to Black fathers. Want to end this episode with gratitude. And so, I acknowledge that there are many different types of fathers. So I'm just going to read this. And if this applies to your father, if you are a father, to the fathers who showed up every day, to the fathers who worked long hours and made sacrifices, to the fathers who taught lessons through words and actions, to the grandfathers, uncles, coaches, mentors, teachers, and father figures, thank you for what you have built. Thank you for the legacy you continue to create. Amazing. And again, think on this, reflect on this. What did a father or father figure build in you that still exists today? So I think this was an amazing way to end the episode. Thank you for listening to me ramble about my fathers and father figures in my life. And again, I hope maybe something resonated with you. All right. So as we close, you know where to find me. I have a beautiful website, www.NicoleDVick.com, where you can find all kinds of things about me. Hey, I have a page with all the podcast episodes that I've been on as a guest. All sorts of things that are happening. You can buy my books. I have 3: Pushing Through, Finding the Light in Every Lesson. Push Through, 52 Weeks of Light in Tough Times. And then the last one is an anthology. It's called Triumph in the Trenches. Me and 22 plus other authors are writing or wrote about how to help Black folks survive the workforce. And it's so crazy because it was very timely, because right after that, all of us got laid off in one way or another through this. We don't even want to talk about that, but very helpful book and very timely book. I'm also on social media. LinkedIn continues to be the space that I post the most. I'm the most consistent on. So I talk about workplace issues, psychological safety, organizational culture. I am also on Instagram. In my businessy podcasty Instagram is Dr. VICKtorious. And then the more personal, here's my outfit, and whoop-de-whoop, is Nicole D. Vick. All right, y'all. I will see you. I think next week we're going to run a really good rerun because it's a Thursday. I can't, make it. So we do reruns. And thank you, Cyrus. This was a good show. Thank you for sharing your stories and honoring fathers while I'm at the gym. See? Yes, I appreciate that. Thank you. So I'll see y'all next week, one way or another, either in person or a rerun. You'll see me. And have a good week, and happy Father's Day to all the fathers, and happy Juneteenth tomorrow. And we'll finish out the rest of Pride Month and woo-woo, head into July. All right, y'all. Take care. Bye.
Thank you for watching Pyro Media Network. For more information, please visit pyromedianetwork.com.